Today we're going to discuss the definition of love. What does it actually mean to love a child? So let's do a quick review of what we did at the first session. We learned a technique called I-tone, U-tone. And what we're doing now is we're actually gauging our speech when we talk to our children, and we're trying to figure out, when I'm speaking to my child, am I speaking from a place of concern for the child, or am I speaking from a selfish place of concern for myself? Am I using an I tone? This is what I want, and I use this tone because I need what I need right now. Or am I using a U tone? And what happens is that the more we get used to using a U tone, which is the tone that shows the child that we're doing things for him or for her, the more the child is the more the child is likely to cooperate. You know, we gave the example of, do we all remember our teachers, our favorite teachers from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it was? And we do. And the reason we remember them 20 years later and we don't remember what we ate last Tuesday is because those teachers were all using a U tone. They came from a place of concern for us. When they told us that we needed to clean up our desks, they spoke in a voice, in a tone that showed that they cared for us, that they loved us. And the reason we also remember our worst teachers from 20, 30 years ago is because when they spoke to us using an I tone. They spoke to us with concern for themselves, with what's good for them. And of course, when that happened, we shut down. We didn't want to listen to them. And you know what? If those teachers, those worst teachers and those favorite teachers would call us up today, 20 years later, and ask us for a favor, we know what our responses would be. Favorite teacher was always there for us. We would jump no matter how busy our day is. Worst teacher would call us up. Okay, now we're adults. We're working on ourselves. We try to be good people. Maybe we could even help people, that haven't done the right thing necessarily. But we're not going to jump so quickly. It's not going to be natural. We're not going to naturally want to cooperate, naturally want to listen. And we said last week that when we use a you tone, when we speak to the child with love and concern for you, for the child, two things happen. One is the child is much more likely to cooperate, and two is we're actually improving our long-term relationship with the child. So we're setting the foundation and we're laying the groundwork for a relationship and a bond with the child so that in the child's later years, the child actually wants to come back, wants a relationship, wants to hear our value system, wants to accept that what we do is with love for them. So today we're going to move into what is the definition of love? What does it mean to love a child? So everybody thinks that we all love our children, which is true. We do. But as we said last week, many times the way that we say things to a child doesn't express that. Love to a child feels like the other person is understanding what's good for me. And the definition of love is giving proper attention and affection to a child. It's two things. So it's like an equation. Love equals proper attention and proper affection. And I'm going to give you a little bit more detail to describe what I mean by that. Attention means being sensitive and responsive to a child's needs. So whatever it is that the child needs, I care, I'm attending to it. If the child is hungry, tired, angry, I'm attending to it. It doesn't mean that I'm giving into a child's whims. Sometimes parents ask me, does that mean that I'm supposed to stop everything when the child is interrupting me on the phone? Of course not, because that's not good for the child. But as long as you're coming from a place of, the reason I'm not stopping and I'm telling the child that right now he has to wait is because it's good for the child to learn that the child needs to wait. Now, of course, we have our own needs. So sometimes if I'm on the phone and I need to talk and I don't want the child to interrupt me, that's okay to have my own need. We do have our own needs, and we have to make sure that our own needs are being met by ourselves. But the healthy way to do it is to make sure that our needs are being met, not in the context of the relationship with the child. Okay, that's a separate topic and something that we need to do separately. We do need to make sure that our own physical, emotional, spiritual needs are being met so that we can be productive human beings and parents. When it comes to relating to the child, we need to attend to the child's needs. Like I said, whether it's hungry, tired, thirsty, or if the child has a need for attention, whatever it is. Child can't reach something on a high shelf. So attending to that need, proper attention, might be to get it if the child can't. Or if the child is at an age where he can actually climb on a stool and you can teach the child to be independent. So making a recommendation for the child to climb on a stool and foster independence might be the way for you to attend to the child's needs. And then there's just general attention, giving proper attention. So it's attending to their needs, like I said, and there's giving proper attention to the child. You are important to me. I want to spend time with you. I want to give you attention. Now, in the context of larger families, this does get difficult sometimes. So what I recommend to parents is that you make it your business as much as you can to give about, I would say, 10 minutes per night with each child at bedtime. Now, as the family grows, this becomes exceedingly more difficult. I recommend that we start from the bottom up. You start with the 2-year-old, you give 10 minutes, then you move up to the 4-year-old, the 6-year-old, whatever the ages of the kids in your family are. And the other children need to know that now is so-and-so's special time. And when you have your special time, I'm going to enjoy that with you. And please make sure not to interrupt, because if by mistake you interrupt, then I'm going to have to take off some minutes of your time. And the older kids in the family need to be kept busy. And then when there's a baby, if you have like a newborn underneath the children, what I usually do is with the newborn is I take the newborn to do bedtime from child to child. So the newborn is, let's say, in the car seat or needs to be fed and you're holding a bottle, but usually the newborn is not interrupting. Once the child is old enough, to be interrupting, the child might need his or her own bedtime. So that's one way of giving proper attention. One way of giving proper attention is by spending 10 minutes each night with each child. Another way is doing special mommy time. Special mommy time is something that you would put on a calendar. You would discuss with a child that you can't wait to spend time with him, that the day is so busy, and you would like to know if he has any time for you this week for about a half hour or so to do some special activity. You give him a choice of 2-3 activities, whatever it is that he likes, baking, drawing with you, taking a walk to the ice cream store, whatever it is, something small, and you put it on the calendar. So on the calendar now it says Yosef and Mommy, 12 to 12:30, walking through the post office together. So now he sees it on the calendar and he knows it's important and he's looking forward to it. He knows it's coming up in 2 days or so. I have one specific child who's not home as much as my other children because he's older, and his schedule is such that the other children are home at a certain hour and he gets home later. So he's actually really feeling like he needs more time with me. So what I did was I called up the principal of his school and I asked the principal if it would be okay for me to take him out during his lunch break. And his principal said yes, but his principal actually wanted him back a half hour later, which is understandable because he had to go back to his studies. So I only had a half hour and I was wondering, what can I do during that half hour? So I brought him to my car and we played hangman and dots and tic-tac-toe for a half hour, and my son thought that he landed in Disney World. That's how excited he was about this. It was such a small thing, and it was something that meant so much to him. Special mommy time. So that's giving a child proper attention. The other component of love is giving affection. And affection is basically physical and emotional warmth. Now, we have to give physical warmth to a child in a way that the child is comfortable, in that child's comfort zone. Some children don't appreciate hugs and kisses. If that child doesn't appreciate hugs and kisses, you find a different way to do it with the child. Maybe the child likes, rolling around on the floor with you, or if it's, an older boy, maybe he likes playing tackle football with you. Whatever it is, you find a way to give physical and emotional warmth. It's very, very important for kids to have physical warmth from their parents. And emotional warmth is being warm with them emotionally. Maybe using that technique that we learned last week, which is using the you tone when we speak to a child, being kind to a child, praising a child. I actually remember, I think it was over 30 years ago, one of my teachers made such a big deal out of an art project that I did. She sent me to the principal so that I can get a special stamp, and the principal gave me the stamp, and I still remember, it was so warm. She was so affectionate, that teacher. She said to me, wow, this is such a beautiful project. Please go show it to the principal. I would like to have a stamp of honor on it. It's 30 years later, and I remember that love. I remember the love. I remember the affection that she gave me, the emotional affection that she gave me. A few months ago, my 7-year-old child got a few small Lego sets from different grandmothers. He was very excited about them, and he was playing with them and building them all day, and this is one of his favorite pastimes. And when bedtime came, I saw how excited he was, so I said to him, maybe tonight, instead of reading a book, we'll do some Lego together. Is that interesting to you? And he said, of course. He was already in the middle of doing it, and he wanted to continue. So we sat and we, played some Lego together, and he taught me the good guys and the bad guys, and I had to do the zoom zoom, whatever, I had to do whatever was important to him. And when bedtime was over, he asked me if he could have a few extra minutes because he was so excited about these new Lego sets. And I said, sure, it's your birthday, and you got these beautiful new Lego sets for your birthday, and I want you to have the few extra minutes. You know what? I'm going to give you till 8:30. Do you want me to tell you when it's 8:30, or do you think you'll know yourself? And he said to me, no, Ma, I want you to tell me when it's 8:30. So I pass by his room at 8:30, and I say, it's 8:30. I'm going to turn off the light and put on the light in the hallway. And he says to me, I'm just finishing to organize and put away the stuff over here. I said, sure, no problem. You don't even you don't even have to tell me when you're finished. When you're done, you just put away your Legos and you go to sleep. So I go downstairs to do dishes, and at 9:30, an hour later, I hear his footsteps. I hear him coming down the steps. And I'm wondering, what's going on over here? So I'm ready to say to him, what are you doing? Mommy already gave you an extra 15 minutes, and then I told you that you couldn't have a few extra minutes, and then I trusted you to put it away, and I told you you didn't have to tell me. And you had the whole day that was so much fun, and it was your birthday, and you got these fun Lego sets. I mean, what more do you want? And I stopped myself. And I realized that had I said all those things, I would have been using an I tone. I want my night to move along. I want to be able to do things now without having to answer children. But I don't get to decide what I want. Hashem decides what I want. And whatever's happening right now is the very, very best thing for me. Because Hashem loves me much more than I love myself. So I was able to catch myself and say, wait, I don't want to come from a selfish place. I want to speak using a you tone. So when he came down and he came into the kitchen and I was washing the dishes, all I said to him was, what's up? And he said to me, oh, Ma, I needed an extra baggie so that I could put the few extra Lego pieces in them. So I said, okay. So I gave him the baggie. He went upstairs. I came up about 3 minutes later. I checked on him, and he had been sleeping already. He fell asleep in 3 minutes. Now, did he do the right thing or the wrong thing? Maybe he did the right thing. Maybe he did the wrong thing. But that's not my business. My job is not to be reacting all day to the things he's doing wrong. My job is to love my child. Now, of course, I have to teach my child when my child is doing things that are not good for him. But I teach it in the form of making a mental note. I make a mental note in my head, and I tell myself that when things are calm and quiet, I'd like to sit down and talk to the child about this. Now, it happens to be with that particular child, this is an isolated incident. He doesn't come out of his bed every day. He doesn't ask for excessive things every day. I don't even need to teach him anything. I don't need to sit and discuss anything with him. He made a mistake. That's his business. I don't have to comment about everything he does. If it would be something that would be recurring all the time, then I would have to make a mental note. And when things are calm and quiet, I would have to go to him in a loving way with a few compliments first and tell him that this is something that we are going to work on. This is something that's good for him, and this is something that he needs to work on. And I'm going to help him, and I'm going to be supportive. Maybe we can come up with ways to do it together. But I don't need to comment about everything that he's doing wrong, because I want to give him proper attention and affection. That's my goal. My goal is to love him, because the more I love him, the deeper our relationship is. And if I'm able, when he comes down and does the wrong thing, to say to him, what's up, I accomplished my goal for the day. I was actually able to love him. So what we're going to work on now for the next few days is when we relate to our children, we're going to continue using the you tone that we learned in our first session and not the I tone. And we're going to concentrate on the long-term effects of using the you tone. That we're establishing a relationship of love with the child, and hopefully by doing that over the course of the next 10, 20 years, the relationship with our child is going to be so deep that when our child is 20 years old, 25 years old, and older, the child now has all the tools that he or she needs to be in a healthy relationship, and then be able to pass that love on to their own children and for many generations thereafter. Have a wonderful day.